Hello, everybody. Welcome to Back on Track with me, Mr. Mac. Now, it's been a long time since I've recorded a podcast episode. If you've listened to all the others, fantastic. If you've not, go and listen. I also have my fantastic podcast I do with Martin, the teacher's PT, called Sir, You Look Tired. But I decided that I was going to kickstart again and rejuvenate, revitalize, rejig, realign with my old podcast, this one. And I've retitled it Back on Track with Mr. Mac. Because if you look at me now, you might think when I'm preaching on about on about work-life balance and weight loss and, the weekly can do and setting in boundaries and goals and chasing after life for you. You might think it looks easy from where I am right now, but it wasn't. So I believe that to help understand how I've got to where I am now, we have to go back to the beginning. So what I'm going to do is, over the next goodness knows how many podcast episodes, I'm going to detail through my journey, basically, from starting teaching. Well, just before that, actually, talking about self-worth and believing in yourself and how the things that impact us when we're growing up, at secondary school and stuff, can really impact the people who we are in our 20s and how it affects how we are at work through our later 20s and into 30s. And, the early days as a teacher, then through SLT, and then eventually the burnout that caused what I can only describe as one of the worst chapters of my life. And when you are in it, when you're burnt out, you might not know that you are because you're so busy. My coach Keegan says to me sometimes, Dan, when you're in the bottle, you can't see the label. And when I was in it, in that cycle, I didn't know. I couldn't see that I was burnt out. We know those signs to look for, but when your self-worth is in your job and when you want to just do your best all the time, you just keep moving on. You just keep motoring on and you don't know a way out of it. So what I'm going to do with these next few podcast episodes, well, quite a lot of them actually, is detail that journey for you. Share tips along the way of what I did that was for me. And this will be different from Sir You Look Tired because this podcast is going to be more almost like a little audiobook. Is that what you call it? A little audiobook, almost like you're on Audible by Amazon. Basically like a story. And this is my story. And I want to share it with you because if it changes one person's life, then that just means it's all worth it. I'm recording this at the minute in Ballycastle in Northern Ireland, sitting in my old bedroom that I grew up in. And when I was at the airport on the way over here, and a lady came up to me and she said, "Hey, do you mind if I just ask you a question?" I went, "Yeah, go for it." And she went, "Are you Mr. Mac?" I went, "Oh my goodness, yes, it is." She went, "I've been following your page." And she said, "I didn't know I was burnt out until I saw you sharing what life was like for you. And then I realized I was burnt out too and things needed to change." And so she followed along with my videos and tips and things, and she decided to make a change as well. And she said that she's so glad that she did because she feels that she's living a better life now than what she was doing. And that's what people deserve. You deserve to lead the best life that you want, that's possible for you, because life is way too short. Life is way too short to be caught up in amongst the weeds, the daily weeds of things. And I know that's easier said than done, especially when you've got things like families and there's bills to pay and so on. But when you're sitting by yourself for a quiet 2 minutes and you have a quick think and you're like, is this really what I want? Is this the life that I want? I remember one time working till like 6 o'clock and like my alarm. So, these are the days when we didn't always used to set iPhone alarms. I had an iPhone at this time, but I think it was very basic. Anyway, my alarm to leave school at the end of the day was the jingle jangle of the caretaker's keys. Dan, out you go. Come on, it's 6 o'clock. And I remember trying to get fit at one stage years ago, and I had a bike. And I used to cycle to work. It took me forever. Oh my goodness, I used to stop and walk it. I used to stop and walk it some of the way. But on the way home, I was absolutely exhausted. I lost concentration fell off my bike, and like luckily I was wearing a helmet. Wear a helmet, kids. And hit my head off the ground. And I remember sitting at the side of the road. Cars were going past. Nobody really, not that nobody cared, but people were busy. And I just was like, is this what you want, Dan? Like, you're absolutely exhausted. What does it take for you to give yourself a shake and realize this is not life? You know, sitting at your kitchen table till 1 o'clock in the morning, going through another document that's needed for an SLT meeting or the next observation, and so on. And as you're sitting there, you realize that the house is not clean and tidy. You've not fed yourself properly that day, and you know your clothes aren't fitting you as well, and you're out of breath going up the stairs, and all of that wasn't enough to give me a shake to say, get your life on track, because I was so in it, so deep in there, that I thought there was no way out. And what I want to do with this is just share that journey with you to make you believe that you can, and to do things like that. You know, life is hard. You're how we are. It can be challenging, and we all love a little comfort zone. But comfort zones are not comforting when they're restrictive. And to make a change, to make that lifelong, substantial change, it is going to be difficult and it is going to be hard, and you will be in the gutter. Not the actual gutter. You've not been to a bottomless brunch. Hello, those people out there, of which I am one. When things get hard and get tough, you go through that gutter where you're stuck in the mud and you are finding it really hard, and everything in your mind and in your body saying, stay where you are now, do not change, because it's easier here. And yes, it is. But at what price? What price is it staying as you are? And as I look back now, and as I will share with you, April 24th, 2020 is the day I decided to make a change. And I remember that date because that's when I signed myself up for an online coach, Keegan Hurst. And that's the day when I decided to make the change. And it was not easy. And it's still not easy now. But when you're in the mud and you're stuck and you push yourself through, you're showing up for yourself. And when you go to work, you realize that the things you're being asked to do are not helping, like the children. So that's just me hitting my leg. You're not helping the children in your class at the end of the day, or helping yourself. And you start to question things, and it's good. You know, someone called me a rebel one day. I was like, rebel? Please. Because I was questioning things. You know, not just sticking with how things are. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And there's that quote about showing up in the arena, showing up for yourself. You will be marred with the dust and the dirt, with wanting to make that change. You will wake up in the morning and think, what the actual is going on here? Why am I doing this? Why am I getting up for a quick 5-minute walk before work, before the breakfast, before the kids get up, before the children get up? But 5 minutes is better than no minutes. And that's what we're going to do over this little time. And if I've just inspired you already, get subscribing, get ready, because this is going to change your life. I hope. It changed mine, and I want to share this journey with you. And our little catchphrase, everybody, is going to be this one: be bold, be brave, but never be basic. You, who's listening to this, you only get so many days around that sun, and they're ticking away. And someday, it's very straight talk right now, it'll be an ordinary day, like it is today. It's been raining here today. Maybe it'll be a dry day. Who knows? The clocks will still be ticking. The cars will still be on the road. The laminator will still be going. Things will still be happening. But you'll die. You will die. It might happen all of a sudden. You might have a slow and painful one. Who knows? But you will die. And you will get time later on in life when you're, say, 80. And you might look back. And you'll think about this moment right now when you're listening to this. And you'll remember that time you've made the change. Or you're maybe making a change right now, and this is going to help you get you through that gutter, get you through that mud, to live the life that you deserve. And let's do it together. So buckle up, subscribe, share, and get ready. And also get listening to Sir You Look Tired as well, the education wellbeing podcast that we share. Be bold, be brave, and together, let's never be basic.